Well, welcome everyone to the debut podcast for Darby Racing. Very exciting. I'm going to cover today how we got involved. I've got special guest Mark Holland, who is my sales manager. We're going to go through how he got involved. We've been best mates for many, many years. We're going to talk about the old days in the band, our good horses, and much, much more. Well, Mark David Holland.
Yes.
How was your weekend?
Scott Jeffrey Darby, is that right?
Yes, it is.
There you go, Jeffrey. There you go.
Goldman on the weekend, Mark. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Melbourne Cup.
It was ridiculous.
Won the slipper.
Yeah.
Had great slipper success, but Melbourne Cup, next level. Where were you and how'd you feel?
I was in the lounge room, and when he went out the way he did, your natural thing is like, he's going too hard. I don't know what he's doing, but because you're panicking. You're kind of thinking, what is on the line here? It's a golden ticket. Can he do it? It's 3 in a row. It's not easy to put 3 in a row as it is. Can he sustain this?
So you were doubting?
I was. So then it's amazing what can go through your mind when a horse is running. Then I started to think, no, but it's Gay. It's Gay. So Gay trains him like this. I mean, how much experience have I got and we got? And you still get through the run. You're thinking he's going too quick. Then you start looking at the sectionals going, no, he's only run sub 13.
Jeez, I wouldn't have liked to be in your lounge room because...
Well, I was actually watching it. No, Amanda wasn't there. So I was like, no, she was there. Yeah. And I'm sort of going, I think he's going too quick. I don't know why. No, he's going to a good rhythm. Jeez, he's going to turn into a stone test. All this was going
I feel sorry for you because we were at Flemington, Edwina and I. And from the moment he jumped and went past the winning post, I was supremely confident. One of those moments you go, look at the way he's travelling. Right. You know he's strong through the line. Right. The only problem I had that broke all that up, coming to the bend, as you know, it's a 600-metre straight. Yeah. My wife starts yelling at the top of her voice, go Goldman!
She went the early crow.
600 to go.
That's embarrassing.
Then at the forge, go Goldman! And no one's saying anything at this point.
Oh, wow.
And it's about the 300. I said, you can go now. He's got it.
Go now. I think he's got this.
Because I knew he'd be strong.
Yeah.
Great weekend. Really enjoyed going down to Flemington. But, Mark, we've been doing this a long time now.
I know we have.
We're in our 16th year.
Yeah.
When did you join? About 12 years ago?
Oh,
was it 3 years in?
2009, 10, maybe.
Let's reminisce a bit.
Maybe.
A lot of people probably don't know our backgrounds.
No, they don't.
How we met. Let's talk about how we met.
Yeah.
There's I was 19, I reckon. How old were you?
I was 25. Was 6 years between us.
Now look how short this hair is. How long was the hair?
It was down. It was full rock star. So back then, which we've delved into it, I've delved into it with a few owners. Hubie de Berg thinks it's hysterical, but we've actually showed Hubie some of our songs, and he's actually quite shocked at
our
how good
bloodstock agent from Europe. Yep.
Hubie de Berg, yes.
Funny man.
He's actually quite shocked at how good we were.
It's probably debatable if people heard it today. We were hard rock. Hard rock. For those that don't know, started a band with a friend of mine, Joey and Paul, called Cry Wolf.
Yeah.
We were the next
Bon Jovi. We actually called Cry Wolf. No, you weren't named.
No, we weren't named.
When I joined, we weren't named.
We were looking for a singer.
Yeah.
Had to have charisma, long hair, but needed to hit the high notes. Yeah. Back then, if you know the hard rock scene.
Yeah. You had to have
long hair, had the bleached hair.
Nuts.
Well, we needed and I put an ad in Guitar World. Used to shop there. I used to spend all my money at Guitar World, buying guitars. I wasn't the greatest player back then. I developed when you came on board, but I thought better equipment will make me play better, and I spent thousands on guitars. And we didn't have a singer. We were starting to put our set list together.
You went through a few, didn't you?
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah.
And I knew your brother really well before I knew you, Darren.
Yeah, you did.
So you rang me on the old telephone, the old...
Yeah, ring it up. Back in the olden days, kids.
If you remember, we talked for ages, and I didn't know who you were. We talked about what we like. You loved Kiss and all the bands we loved.
Yeah.
Somehow it come up about your family, and it turns out
Darren,
one of my good friends, you're his brother.
Yeah.
I hadn't known Darren that long. That's why it didn't click. But there's some great memories, weren't they?
Oh, mate. Well, I'd actually, as well, I didn't even realise I could sing. And it was Carcass singing in the back seat of a car. He looks at me and goes, you got a great voice. And I'm like, have I? And he goes, yeah, man, you should try it for a band. And anyway, fast forward to the first band I tried out for was with Phil Morris. And they were great. Yeah, he was phenomenal.
Used to show me up all the time.
It was and the night before my audition, it was Janine's 21st birthday party. So I'm going off like an idiot and screaming at the top of my lungs. So when I go down for the audition, I've got no voice left. So I'm auditioning for this band and I can't sing. So it was terrible. So I was scarred from that. I remember Phil coming out. We went through a few songs and we were singing big stuff, White Snake and all this stuff, and I just couldn't sing it. I could sing the low stuff, but when I got the high stuff, I couldn't do it. So Phil comes out after it. He goes, listen, man, it just didn't work. You've got the look. You've got the image.
We'll call you.
Don't call us. We'll call you. So I was devastated. I was scarred. I thought I knew I couldn't sing. I don't know what Carcass was talking about. I knew I couldn't sing. Anyway, fast forward years, my then partner Jane heard me sing and goes, you can sing. And I'm like, I actually can't. And she goes, yes, you can. So she was the one that pushed me into your little back in the olden days, folks. There used to be notice boards down at the guitar shops.
Looking little for strips at the bottom.
Yep. Looking for a singer, looking for a guitarist, rock star wanted. And on the bottom of the strip here, there all used to be little torn off pieces and you'd rip it off with the phone number of the dude and you'd go home on your little old fashioned phones and you'd pick them up and you'd ring the number and it was him.
Hey, I've got to confess, we never did tell you this.
What?
When you took your strip, we actually took a few strips off to make it look like we were pretty bad.
That's how you knew. Yeah,
we were pretty bad. We were learning our stuff. If it was
popular, if it was there and all the strips were there, we like, I don't know about this band. But if there were strips missing, you thought, I'll have a go. But I actually didn't want to do it. But Jane said to me, you've got to have a go. You'll regret it if you don't have a go. So funnily enough...
What year was that? If I'm 19...
Wow, I was 20...
I'm 50 this year.
I was 24, 20, so you're probably 18?
Yeah, 18, 19.
24. So what's that? That'd be 90...
94?
90...
93,
no,
92.
92. So funnily enough, for both of us, for me and Styx, who was our drummer, Styx, obviously... He said to me, when you auditioned, you were it. We'd auditioned singers before, and if you were no good, we were going to give it up.
Yeah, we're going to give it away.
And I was the same. I said, I'll give it a go, but I'm telling you, I won't get in, and this is it. I'm never going to try again.
You were actually very lucky because the standard was quite low when you came on board.
No, it wasn't.
We got better as it went on.
He always downplays himself, but you're a tight band.
True story, mate.
Very good, very tight. And I remember thinking, shit, this
True
band's
story.
tight.
Growing up, I was the shyest kid. Didn't like to get on stage. He was petrified to go up and get an award at school.
Yeah.
When you came on, you had that charisma, that confidence, and you always told me how good I was on guitar, and I used to be like, but it worked. It grew on me, and by the time we hit the stages and the band competitions, I was going off. I believed I could play, and it was thanks to you. You did that for me.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember our very first gig at Ambervale?
Oh, we smashed it.
It was a gig. It was a band competition.
Yep.
And remember, you couldn't be a professional band.
No.
Anyway, we played like we were playing the Sydney Entertainment Centre. Well, going off.
We'd been rehearsing for quite some time. We had moves down.
Yep.
We had a light show going.
Yep.
And you were meant to have never... Not been a professional band, not played, which we weren't. It was our very first gig, but we were ready. We'd been in training, in pre-training for some time.
We hit the Ambervale Community Centre like they'd never been hit before. Anyway, we won the competition and everyone
Accused
had the shits.
Us. That's right.
They said they're a professional band. This is ridiculous.
We thought we'd made it.
We did, eh? We thought we have made it.
What's the happiest memory about the band? For me, it's probably... that Chevy's gig we did.
Yeah, I think that's right up there.
Another band competition. I mean, that's the way you used to make it back in the day.
Yeah, it was.
Before you'd get on what they call a rider or get signed or play in some of the big venues.
Yeah.
You went around and did the band competitions. They're a lot of fun. And
it was great. It was brilliant. That Chevy's gig was...
I am remembering one of those gigs. We'd learn a new song and... It has some difficult chords in it.
Yeah.
And I'd never experienced this before. It was mainly just hard, and you're thrashing about.
And it was the tender ballad.
Yeah.
And we thought we're going to mimic what the big bands do. And remember we sat on the front of the stage.
Yeah, and it got to this quiet moment and my hand froze.
I know it did.
I couldn't play the chords.
And I'm trying to sing.
And he's looking over and going...
I'm looking at him going, what are you doing? And his hand had frozen up. He couldn't play the chords.
No. Needless to say, we didn't win that competition.
No, we come second in that comp.
I don't think it was because of my chords, but...
No, we won that comp.
Did we?
We won that comp because the comp before, we were robbed. That's when there was nearly an all-in brawl. Remember that? And we won the comp because they said you can't do covers. And the band that won it did all covers. So they won it, and our group went ballistic. I don't know if you remember, but I was... My cousin, Doggy... He's in my ear going, I wouldn't take that, man. I wouldn't put up with that, man. Yeah. That DJ's disrespecting you.
I do remember that.
He fired me up, so then I launched across the table and I was going to kill the DJ, and Doggy grabbed me and goes, nah, don't do I said, well, you're firing me up.
Well, you're making me remember now because I didn't get involved and I'm sitting in the corner sad because I must have been 19. And one of my first girlfriends who'd broken up and broke my heart, she come to watch the band with the new man.
Yep.
And obviously saw us on stage, and she'd come up to me at the end and she said, I don't think I should have let you go. Like, saw the rock star, and they just sent me to come. So I'm watching you guys starting to get in a brawl, and I'm crying, half crying in the background. Women, what they do to you. But
I'll tell you, to cap that story, because people are probably doing what they think and snickering and going, what, these two guys from Darby Racing were in a band. I'll tell you what, we ended up going and recording that 4-track demo at the Rydalmere Studios, and I submitted it to a heap of record companies, and as usual, you get nothing from them, or you get a thanks but no thanks. So I'd given up. Anyway, Mum knew someone that came into the doctor's surgery that worked at EMI Records. And she said, my son's in a band and you should So she gave him the tape. Anyway, turns out they're interested. They want to see it. They want us to come in. At that stage, the band had broken up.
Yeah.
I'd cut my hair. My marriage was in disarray. I cut my hair, left the band because although Jane pushed me into the band, she actually hated the band because it took her away from her. So I quit the band, left, cut my hair, and EMI Records were chasing me when I was working for B&D then, and they were chasing me every day, and I wouldn't take their call. Anyway, one of the girls at B&D said, you need to take this call, Mark. Like, this is EMI Rec. This is what you've been working for. Anyway, I finally took the guy's call. He said, look, we've got your demo. We're really interested. And I said, mate, the band's finished. We're broken up. I was in a coma. I said, we're not interested, mate. We're finished. All right. Well, if you're not interested, we really like the singer and the guitarist. And I said, well, I'm a singer. I've cut my hair. I'm not interested. What about the guitarist? He's not interested either.
He's cooking pizzas now. Yeah, that was me.
So that was the big break that could have, but I was devastated by the end of my marriage, and back then thought that was going to be it forever, and Blue, the record company.
Great memories.
They were brilliant memories.
And that's where this bond started. And, and now we'd fast forward Darby Racing.
Mind you, at that time, neither of us knew that we were both into horses.
No.
We had nothing about horses. It was all music at that point.
Well, I kind of came back to it because horses, for me, there's no horse racing in my background at all.
No, not.
Family. No. In fact, it used to come on, if you remember, on Channel 9, they'd do the sports report, and Kenny Callender would come on, they say, and today's results. And I said to my dad, what's horse racing? And he goes, it's not a sport, son. Don't worry about that. Just ignore it. That's what he said.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, yeah, okay. Because I used to watch the football and the scores. Yeah. But I used to ride horses 8 to 14 years old. Family friends had a property down at Tonga, which is past Mossvale. They had horses and they had a Christian campsite there as well. So every once a month used to go down. I love the horses. I love riding. I love the smell of them.
Yeah.
That was my taste into horses. And it wasn't until year 10, so probably 16, a friend of mine right into racing.
Right.
And me and Sticks, Paul.
Yeah.
He invited us to the races.
So was Sticks into the racing?
No, we both came in. It was just
guy.
another guy was into the racing. And he invited us to Canterbury and introduced us to punting, and we were starting to form the night before.
I think I remember you've told me this story. Yeah.
And I was encapsulated because you had the horses. Hooked. I loved the horses, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
But obviously at 16, 17, started getting into the guitar and
guitar
horses
women.
were kind of a side thing. You're having a bit of a punt here and there, and you'd have your $20 and you'd head out to the races. But that was my start. But the passion grew. Right. And I think that's why too, things like the band sort of fell away. My passion for the racing game grew. The punting grew. I loved, and I ended up going when I had 2 stints as a strapper with Clary Connors. I mean, my first memory of a good horse.
Tell him the riding.
I'll tell him.
Okay, this is funny. It's a funny story.
The Clary Connors link, and he was instrumental, was my first great memory was Terse winning the slipper.
Right. Because you were there in that time.
And that captured me.
You were there in that time?
Yeah.
Right.
No, I wasn't working then.
Oh, okay.
That's how I got to know Clary Connors. I remember him wearing the slipper. So next year he has Burst. Now that's my favourite horse of all time.
Yeah.
I followed it. That's where I fell in love with this, the slipper.
Right. That's where it comes from.
I love the slipper. It was Burst.
Obsessed with the slipper, aren't you?
So Clary Connors trained both of them, and I had this wild idea. At the time, I was the family had a pizza shop, a Pizza Haven it was. And I had this wild idea that I was that into racing, and I'd been with horses riding them, but not had a great background with handling them and all that sort of thing. I'm going to go and be a strapper. I want to get involved.
Do you remember your phone call?
Yeah, so I rang her. I said, man, I don't want to do the pizza shop anymore. I want to get into racing. I want to be a jockey.
That's right.
So I was a light. I was only about 60 kilos. And
but do you remember the phone call?
Yeah, no. So I ring up Clary Connors because he's my idol. He's won with Burst. Just had one with Burst. Yeah. And I said, have you got any jobs going for a strapper? And he says, yeah. Have you had experience? And I said, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and he goes, don't lie to me because I'll be able to tell, and you've got to have experience. Oh, yeah, I've ridden some on.
Yeah.
And he goes, we'll come in and 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll have a look at you. So I ring you straight, man, I've got a job.
I don't know how
do you put a bridle on? And you're wetting yourself.
Oh, that was hilarious. I don't even know how to put a bridle on.
Anyway, I turn up the next morning. I'm that excited. I wanted to be a part of this game.
Right.
Told mum and dad, I'll still work in the pizza shop, but I might be leaving.
Right.
Turn up there, and his foreman comes around, muck this box out. I'm doing all that. I'm right into it. And he goes, and bring down box number 3, bring her down. Okay, righto. Just put the head collar on, put the bridle on. Anyway, he comes past and he sees me kind of fumbling with it. And he walks in, lucky it wasn't Clary.
It was him, yeah.
He walks in and goes, you've never put a bridle on before, have you? Yeah, a long time ago when I was 14. Yeah, just remind me, can you?
This bridle's a bit different.
And he helps me put it on, and the rest is history. I worked for Clary for probably a year.
Yeah. But you got to tell him the jockey story, the riding story out the bull ring. That's hysterical.
I kept telling Clary, I want to be a jockey, and he's probably heard it all before.
Yeah.
And all I'd ridden is ponies.
Yeah.
Not pony club, nothing like that. I had nothing. Yeah. But I knew I wanted to be part of this game.
Yeah.
And
you were weren't you wasting?
I was wasting.
He was wasting.
Yeah.
He was because you're not that tall, so you were wasting. You wouldn't have. How much would you weigh?
You used to work from 4 o'clock to say 10 o'clock, and then you'd go home and you'd come back 3 o'clock to do the afternoon shift. So sometimes I'd go to the local riding school and jump on a hack just to start polishing up.
Yeah.
Didn't know you had to have your feet up here, anything like that. So Clary one morning says,
"Righto,
bring your boots tomorrow." I'm like, wow, sweet.
Righto.
I'm hungry. I've been starving. I turn up and he says, put him on this horse. I don't even remember the horse's name, and trotted up around the bull ring. Sweet. So I'm nervous and next minute my feet are up like this, and I'm going, what the hell is this? Just green as grass. No. So I go onto the trotting ring, and I'm nervous. Next minute I hear him barking instructions. Back straight, sit back, do this, and I'm going all over the shop. Yeah. Nearly fell off. This is at a trot. Then a horse come cantering past me.
Oh, no.
It felt like I'm used to these absolute dromedaries at the riding school. Yeah. And I thought I had a V12.
Oh.
I hopped off, petrified.
Yeah.
Clary's shaking his head. And I said, I'm done. I'm going to McDonald's.
That's it.
I'm starving.
Straight to the drive-through.
Maybe I'll be a trainer. I might be a trainer or something.
Be a trainer one day.
Had a crack at that
you
too.
Did too.
What about you? You're a horse breaker.
Yeah,
you broke a lot in for us, but what about the early days?
Yeah, well, Mum reckons that the minute I was born, she swore the first thing that came out of my mouth was horse. Obviously, that's a joke, and I don't know why, because the same as you, there is no horse people in my family. There's no horse people in my background. There's nothing to do with it. I don't know why, but I've just always loved horses. I've always loved them. I don't know why. I don't know what the attraction is. Like, why horses? I don't know. But I've had a love affair with horses.
You love animals.
Well, I love animals, but I don't know what it was about horses. And so I got my ponies and that sort of thing, went to the pony clubs and shows and did all that stuff. Anyway.
So you did it properly, not like me.
Yeah. So I used to spell my horse at Alf Cooper's, which was down next to Lamoon Publicsfield where you went. So while I was down there, Alf said to me, geez, you can ride, young fella. Alf was about, I don't know, 60,
I remember Alf.
60 odd.
Because I went to that Lumo Primary.
Yeah.
And you see the old fella.
Yeah.
When you kick the ball over the fence.
Yeah, he was a legend. Great horseman. He was
we had a connection even before that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we did.
Because you were working there while I was at school.
I was.
And that Atunga camp where I started riding, that friends, they used to source their horses off of Alf Cooper.
Is that right?
Yep.
Wow. And I remember, if you remember, I'd come home from school, saddle my horse up and ride down to Alf's. Because by then, he said to me, you want to ride some breakers for me, young fella? I had no idea what he was talking about. I said, yeah, I suppose. He goes, you got a good suit on you and I think you'll be right. And so, okay, yeah, all right. I had no idea what I was getting into. So I used to come home, saddle my horse up, ride down to Alf's. And if you remember, there was that little gap up the top back end of the school. I'd ride through there and ride down to Alf's, and the kids used to come flying up.
Yeah.
Remember?
Steep hill.
They'd come flying up, and back then, I mean, this is the 80s, you're riding around on a horse, people thought you were just some cowboy that had come from, you just didn't see it and the kids were fascinated, and they'd walk down and you'd go in the thing. Anyway, I'll never forget the first time Alf puts me on. Back then in the olden days, this is the 80s, that's I think where the breaking a horse comes from. They used to bag them, what was called bagging them. So he'd do all the groundwork. When it was ready to be ridden, he'd say, righto, young fella, come down. You go, righto. And there'd be a bag on this horse's head. And you'd go, all right, what am I? So now get on there as quick and as quiet as you can. And you'd go, okay. Right. And you'd get on, you'd go, now you're right. And you'd go, yeah. And you'd go, now hang on, because I'm going to take that bag off.
Oh, dear.
And you'd go, right, okay. And you'd take the bag off and the horse would go, shit. And the horse would just start to buck. And he would just let it go and you'd just ride the buck out of it. Your job was to sit on there.
Jeez, how different is it today?
Yeah, and ride it until it stopped bucking. And that was it. Sit back, knees forward. Same as Clary with you. Put your feet forward, you have to go.
Any broken bones?
No, never.
Ever get you off?
No. Once. One got me off. She was actually, She was a quarter horse, beautiful filly. She could buck too. She could buck. Anyway, she'd been broken in, and Alf identified it because back then we'd go to the shows as well with Alf. I'd go to him as well, and I would take my dressage horse, and he loved the sporting, so we'd take a sporting horse, and he identified her early. I'm going to keep this one because he'd go and buy them as the babies and break them in and then sell them. That's how he made his living, and he goes, This one's going to make a great sporting horse. So we put time into her as that, but she always had a buck in her, always, and could buck.
Was that your worst fall?
Yeah, it wasn't even that bad. Like I don't know why, but I've been very blessed that I haven't fallen off that much. I don't know whether it's my awareness on a horse.
You were just good, naturally good.
Well, it wasn't
obviously.
even that. I think it was more that I was just always with the horse. A lot of people I used to ride with that would come off. They're not concentrating. They're not with the horse. They're looking over here and they're talking to you and talking to him. And next thing they're on the deck.
Are you looking at me when you're saying that?
Yeah. No.
I wasn't very good at rider, must admit. And a bad fall. Why am I asking about a bad fall? That's
No, I was very, very lucky. After 15 years of breaking, I reckon the worst I had was the torn ligament in my hand. I got a few good kicks. I've only had a couple of falls, but luckily they were sort of come off and land on your feet. Not a lot of bad falls. And I think it's probably a good thing or a bad thing. The good thing, I've had a lot of close calls where you think, shit, I'm gone. But I think the bad thing was too, as I got older, when I was at Heritage and breaking in, I'm older, I mean early 40s, you're still riding the breakers and you're getting close calls sometimes because your reactions aren't like what they were when you were younger. You're getting close calls.
Not as fearless either.
Nah, and you start getting that. At that point, I've got kids. You're starting to worry about kids. What happens if I come off? So what I'm saying is these jockeys that come off hard in races, the courage that they've got to get back on a horse.
I think you've either got it or you don't. You've either got you can lose that boldness or that courage.
Yeah.
But I had a bad fall and that really, like I flipped over the front and landed on my back. And
was that horse that I was there? Yeah.
Looking up, the horse was staring at me. But let's fast forward. Let's fast forward through to the first year of Darby Racing syndication. It was 2007, pandemic. The equine flu had just gone past. It was November.
Right. Yep.
And we went to the sales, classic sale in February.
With Scotty Wade at that point.
Yep. And purchased a horse called our Joan of Arc.
Yep.
One of our very first purchases. Paid $15,000 for her. A beautiful crown filly.
Yeah.
You broke her in, which was a great connection. Again, you weren't working for me at that time.
No, I was at Heritage. Actually, I was at Heritage Park then when she came on.
It was daunting.
No, I wasn't. I was still at Razorback.
It was daunting as a syndicator because, look, how I got into syndicating, it was back in the day, you used to see in the Telegraph those little ads that say 8 partners wanted and there's such a horse. And I bought into quite a few of those. And when I did some work experience with Steve Turner, the breaker, he came home with a horse from the sale. And I said, what are you going to do with that? He said, I just bought it for $8,000. He said, I'm going to get partners in it. And I remembered this ad. And I said,
I know how to do this.
Yeah. He goes, what are you going to do? And I said, we'll put it in the paper looking for partners. He said, all right, sell it for, I think it was $1,200 a partner. And he said, if you can sell them, you can have one share. Sell it or do what you want. Yeah. Sold them all. And I didn't know at that time you needed a license. But that was probably the first time I thought about syndicating. I was trying to find my way in the industry. I wasn't going to be a jockey.
So what you've got to give you is tenacity. Well, just keep having a crack.
Look, I think to tell the truth, I was always going to be in business. Mum tells a story that I used to pick the artichokes out of the background. I used to get the tadpoles. I used to get her paint by numbers of her mum and dad, and I used to go around the streets selling it.
So you're an entrepreneur.
Money. I was. Yeah. I didn't know it.
No.
So, but I was fascinated by the racing industry. And, who just wakes up one day and says he's going to be a syndicator? Well, that's how I got into it. I then did some work experience for a good friend of ours, Scott Wade, who's a horse breaker.
Razorback.
Same thing. He'd bred an Encounter colt. And he said, I'm going to get some people. And I said, I can help you there. Same thing happened. I sold it through the paper. And that's where I got the idea. Didn't know you need a license. Had a share with, had many shares and a lot of disappointments bought him off the paper. But first time I had great success was through Denise Martin's Star Thoroughbreds. Been going a long time. Does a great job, Denise.
And I was so happy for you because I remember then you'd bought shares in so many horses and you had no success, no luck, no
well, they were
success,
at the bottom end.
no success.
They were just
Remember when we
things,
first went to Gosford to see you?
Yeah, all dressed up in suits and, you don't wear suits at Gosford.
I went to Gosford and
had
my
mates there
last.
and we ran last. Yeah. I wasn't giving up. I wasn't giving up. So that's how it started.
But then what'd you land on?
Flaming. A horse called Flaming, who was a Group 3 winner.
Group winner.
For Gay.
I was wrapped for it. I was so happy.
And that's where I probably really started thinking about what I'd done with the 2 breaks and selling horses. Obviously bought in with the syndicator. And things went from there. Learnt you needed a license, and we took off from there. So fast forward, we're at the first sale. Joan of Arc, your broker in. What's your memories of our Joan of Arc, who ended up winning the Jim Crack Stakes? This is our first syndication. Jim Crack Stakes. Went down to Melbourne for the Inglis race. Got beaten by Star Spangled Banner, which was having its first start.
Wow.
And should have won. Got held up on the fence. Clary backs it up again into the Maribyrnong plate. And we win that. Absolute thrill. I'll tell a story about the Jim Crack in a minute, but what's your earliest memories of Joan of Arc breaking her in?
My earliest memories of Joan of Arc were I had to go and get her from Heritage Park because at that time you were spelling everything at Heritage Park. So I had to go and pick her up in the truck. Anyway, I said, I'm here to get the beautiful Crown filly. Righto. We couldn't get her on the float. There was a lot of blokes there. Would have been 6, 7 blokes there. We could not get her on. She just kept running back. She was half throwing herself down. It's like, this filly's mad. What's going on here? We ended up, it took us half an hour. We persisted and persisted and persisted and finally got this filly on the truck. At some point it was like, I don't think we're going to get this on. Anyway, get her on.
I'm glad you did.
Take her back to Razorback. I took her off the truck and I thought, I'm going to start working on this filly now.
There was no bag on the heads that. No, we're talking about the new method.
This is all the new methods.
Yeah,
that was, and I had to thank Scott Wade from that because I got out of horses for a long time.
That's right.
And it was actually you that said to me, I don't know what you want to do, man, but you've got a gift with horses. You should be doing something in the horse industry. So if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be in the industry. I said to you, there's no money in it, man. And you're like, no, it's all different now. So I had no idea. And then when I went to work for Scott Wade, I watched him break in. It was like, what's going on here? It's all this horse whisperer
What do they
stuff.
call it? Like the give and take and the...
Yeah. It's all working with the animal. It wasn't about breaking them anymore. It was working with them. I was gobsmacked when I'm watching him.
It's fascinating to watch, isn't it?
How are you getting on that horse bareback now? Like, it was fascinating. So I soaked everything up that he was. I was just like, I've got to learn everything.
Joan of Arc, from memory, you tell me if I'm wrong, I remember getting a call from Scott Wade saying nothing about her ability because we're not at that point, but she's an absolute natural. I think it was 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
You'd virtually had her broken.
Well, what happened was, so fast forward to, I get her back off the truck at Razorback after taking forever to get her on the float. I thought, I'll get straight to work on you. You're a problem. So I took her into the round yard and I start working with her and start building the confidence with her and this, that and the other. And she just, everything, she was like a star student. Everything I was teaching her, she was picking up like that. It was like, so you go with it. I was going with it. I'm going, okay, I'll make things a bit harder for you and I'll do this and do that. And at that point, I used to have little obstacles in the round yard that I'd drag in with me and I'd make them, to build their confidence between them and I'd make them walk over the obstacles. And anyway, this filly came to hand that quick and her and I bonded that fast. I remember thinking...
You're in love with her, I remember.
Yeah, I remember thinking...
Just as a horse, no idea of ability at this stage.
No idea of ability. But the give and take between her and I was just like, I reckon I'm going to put her on the track. I'm going to put her on the float. So we had the truck there, but I had a little 2-horse float. So I thought, I'm going to make it even harder for you. I'm going to walk you on a little 2-horse. It's even smaller. Anyway, I walked over to her. I walked over to the float, give her a pat, turned around, walked out, and she walked straight up. Walked straight up, we turned around, and she's just looking at me. And I'm like, wow. So I took a photo of myself and her on the truck, and I sent it to Sean. Sean McCormick was the manager of Heritage at the time, who we'd had all this trouble. It was the same day. So I was sending the photo, and he goes, "Who's that?" I said, "That's the filly we all couldn't get on the truck."
Yeah, amazing.
He goes, "You've got her in a two horse." I said, "Yeah." On the same day. Then I remember Scott had the first ride on her, and he said, "I don't know what you've done with this filly, but this filly's unbelievable." And it was just, I think, gaining a trust and bonding with her. And you're right. Early on, he was going as well. Something about this filly. There's something special about it.
And there was something special, Mark, because as you know today, to get a horse to run in the Gimcrack Stakes, to go those early, you've got to be in and out, in and out, in and out. You buy them from Magic's Classic. Yeah. This filly actually didn't hit Clary's stables to sort of May. And normally there's no way you just go in the first preparation and go right through to those trials.
No.
And it was the middle of July when you basically bring them in. It was towards the end of July, and Clary Connors, the trainer, he said, "I'm going to gallop 3 of your horses, including that Beautiful Crown. We'll probably tip her out after the gallop. She's done enough for this time in." I come down that morning, and the 2 she galloped with were showing a bit of ability, and they had 3 preparations, and she just smoked them.
Wow.
And I looked over at Clary. He looked at me.
Is that good?
I said, "That was pretty good, wasn't it?" And he goes, "That was bloody good."
It was very, very good.
And she stayed in.
Yeah, she did. She never come back.
Clary kept putting the dispensation. Look, she could go Shinsaw. It's her first preparation.
Yeah.
We get to the official trials. Now, this is a great story too, because Joan of Arc had a great, diverse ownership group. She was a very cheap filly.
Yeah.
A lot of green owners, new owners into the game. It's one of our first indications. I think we bought that year maybe 8 horses. We turn up at the official trials. These are trials.
Yeah.
You don't cheer, you don't clap.
No.
And we're at the old Randwick Grandstand, and we're one of the later trials.
Yeah.
Peter Robles riding.
Yep.
She wins the trial, but 200 out. These owners are roaring like it's a race, and I'm getting embarrassed, going, "Geez, just a trial here, guys." And they just loved it. Anyway, we turn up, and before the barrier draw, which I think came out on the Wednesday or Thursday back then, you have your last gallop on the Tuesday. And I ring Clary, and it takes a while for him to answer, and he goes, "There's only 2 people that are going to make me get out of the shower to answer the call, the Prime Minister and yourself." I'm like, "Oh, that's a bit bizarre."
Hang on a sec.
And I said, "Oh, I'll just ring to see how you gallop." That's why I got out of the shower. He said, "She'll win the Gimcrack."
Wow.
You got to really... And I went, wow. Anyway, barrier draw comes up. We draw 14 or 14.
Oh,
and
that's right.
bundles just drop.
Yeah.
You can't win from out there.
Nah.
And even Clary's like talking about scratching, can't win, all that sort of stuff. But you could not knock the owners down. She was placed at 33-1 for the race.
That's right.
And with all the dispensations, with Clary getting in saying, "Guys, no, they don't win from out there.
They don't win from out there.
It's a very difficult ask."
Especially 2-year-old first start.
You couldn't knock them down. They were backing her. They were backing her. They were having the money on. And I think the key was, I give so much credit to Peter Robles. Gosh, he was a good rider. And he came out, this is when Peter Robles was really starting to make a name for himself. And comes out, and Clary says, "Well, from that gate, go back and let her find her feet and see if she get home." And Peter just said, "No, Clary, 2-year-old race better that you go forward. These early races are won by horses in front." And he wasn't happy. And she sat 3 wide that trip, and she just had that. She was just blessed early and beat, actually, funny story, she beat one of Denise Martin's Star Thoroughbreds horse. The name escapes me.
Movie?
No,
it wasn't movie. I know the horse you're talking about.
And
it was on the rail.
It was unbelievable. The scenes after with those owners, they had pockets full of money. I couldn't believe, because, if you're looking at the race from proper eyes, from form eyes, you wouldn't be backing from out there.
No.
and they wouldn't have a bar of it. It was an amazing ride. She ran in the slipper, but she was just a brilliant 2-year-old. That's it.
Yeah.
Early 2-year-old.
That was it.
3-year-old, she she didn't really do a lot, and we sold her on to stud. Now, to end the story great about Joan of Arc, as you know, I'm into breeding.
Yeah.
And many, many years later, it was, I think last year or the year before, our Joan of Arc came up for sale in foal to Cosmic Force.
She did too.
End up paying $9,000, and she's sitting on my farm as we speak. So
and we syndicated Cosmic Arc.
Come full circle. She's in foal to Time to Reign, another one of our great syndications. But that was the early days, Mark. And what do you always say? It came that early. We thought, how easy is this?
Yeah, I know.
How easy is this? One of the first syndications.
We're killing it here.
Little did we know.
Easy.
There was some tough years ahead.
There was some tough years ahead.
I mean, a couple of years later, you left the breaking in. You come and join us.
Yeah.
And it was hard to find that next Joan of Arc.
It was really hard.
3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah. And we went through a lot of tough times at the sales. You and I would sludge around there. And we started to identify, because we'd obviously go around and pick the horses. And at that time, we were new to it. We would go and tick it off with the trainers. We like this one. What do you think? Especially Gerald. Gerald
Ryan, great judge.
We loved Gerald.
Really good judge of horse.
Great judge. And he would can them. And you'd go, yeah, right.
Because we were honing our skills on
we were learning on the job and
turning up.
Anyway, he's got an incredible mind. You've got an incredible memory of. Remember that horse down the back, man? I don't remember any of them. I don't know why. I just don't.
I love it.
You remember everything that we saw, and we didn't. Anyway, what started to happen was, did you see that winner on the wet? No. We loved that horse. Why didn't we get it? So-and-so said, don't like it.
Yeah.
So that's when we started to go, I think we need to just back ourselves. Forget about the trainer's opinions. Good, bad or ugly, we'll just back ourselves, buy the ones we want, buy the ones we like, and we'll succeed or fail off that. And once we started doing that, Corabiti was the first one we did it with.
I think the beauty of that, Mark, is we came up together.
Yeah, we did.
So it wasn't like I had 10 years and then you came on board. We started looking at horses together.
Yeah.
And when we made that...
No bloodstock agents, nothing.
We kind of spurred each other on.
Yeah.
I was heavily into pedigrees. I remember back, we talked about pizza shop days.
Yeah.
Before I did syndication, I used to just sit on the computer, pedigree after pedigree after pedigree.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be involved and loved the breeding side of it.
Yeah.
But the art of finding the horse at the sale, the athlete,
it
takes a lot of work to learn, and there's a lot of feel about it.
Absolutely.
You just get a feel about a certain horse, and I suppose fast forward, like there was some tough times in 4 or 5 years where we couldn't get that group horse, and
it was so tough, wasn't it? We would turn up to group races with horses, and you'd think, I think and we'd be gone by the turn. You're going, we're going to run last again, and you're thinking, what did it take to get a group horse? What is going on?
But we never gave up. We persevered, and I think the turning point was a horse called Time for War. We purchased out of the Scone.
Yep.
A Schnitzel colt.
Yep.
We outbid Mick Malone at Kitchwin Hills.
We outbid him at 56,000.
56,000.
And then when we got back to the hotel, we're going, that Schnitzel man's outstanding. Mick called, remember?
Yeah.
He said, I'm kicking myself. I don't know why I stopped bidding.
Yeah.
Do you sure you don't want to take the quick money? Do you want to take the...
Yeah.
I don't know what he offered, 10 grand on top of whatever it was.
No, he said, get stuffed.
No.
This is our moment.
No, get stuffed, because he took Schnitzerland, and it was like, no, you're not having another Schnitzerland.
Yeah. No, and, prices were obviously a lot cheaper back then. And Schnitzel wasn't Schnitzel he is today.
No.
And he was the first horse, I reckon, from that point on, is where we started to really blossom.
Yeah.
We'd put all the groundwork in.
Yeah.
We'd built the business a little bit, but we needed a headline horse.
Yeah.
And we really needed a Group 1 horse, and he wasn't it, but he was a horse that put us on the map for 2-year-olds, because we were known to pick a 2-year-old.
And he was a very, very good. Remember, he was about 2 or 3 lengths off those top shelf horses. He could hold his own in there, but he'd always finish a couple lengths off him, 2 or 3 lengths off him.
Bit of a rogue too.
He was a flirt.
He was a late foal.
Was the one that
first start at Rose Hill. He was 30-40 to 1.
I remember being there that day.
He had the brow band on. He had the nose. He had every band on you could have.
I remember Gerald pre-race. They just don't win, Mark. They just don't win running times he had. So everyone, if you've got a horse that's training on the track and the trainer's not overly impressed with it on track, you never know what you've got until race day. Because he was 30 to 1, and Gerald said they just don't win the way the times he runs on the track, Mark. Yeah. We'll run him, then we'll tip him out, and we'll cut him, and he'll come back and be a nice horse. So get to the day.
And I end up in the steward's room, first time ever. Not for me. The horse takes the second horse right off the track. He was just as green as grass. Yeah. But won the Pago Stakes.
Second start, Pago, won that.
Went up and won the
size.
The size up there. And
we were up there that day.
Yeah.
Jumping around like lunatics in the
we were starting to head places. We thought all this hard work's starting to pay off. But it was really the changing moment of Darby Racing. There's no two ways about it, and she'll always hold an absolute special place in my heart. Yankee Rose.
Yeah, Yankee. Yeah.
$10,000 filly.
Yeah.
Classic sale again. Yeah. Where we used to source all the bargains. A lot harder to get a bargain there these days.
Yeah.
Funny story with her. We nearly didn't have her.
I know.
Again, we can thank Clary Connors. Yeah. I'll tell you why. But then we were really starting to hone in our skills and what we liked in the horses. And we really liked this filly. We did. Remember?
Yeah.
All-American filly.
Yeah.
I usually give a mark out of 10. And if I give a, 7.5, 8, it's pretty high.
Very good. Yeah.
Probably changed a bit over the time. But back then, that was pretty high.
Yeah.
I just liked her. Something about her I really liked. I'd give her an 8 out of 10, put her in the back of the book to be vetted.
Yeah.
And to have a bid on. Problem was she was early in the sale, probably lot 13 or 14. Yeah. And we were thinking she's going to make sort of 30, 40 grand. And back then, this is quite some time ago, that was a fair bit of money for a sire that was not doing the job, All-American. He was struggling. So we forgot about her. We didn't even go up the ring. No. We didn't bid. It was at the end of that first day, Clary Connors rang me. He was a trainer for us at the time. And he said, did you have a look at lot 14 or whatever it was? And I said, yeah, I loved her. Absolutely loved her. Neat filly, athletic. I said, why? He said, it's passed in. I said, okay. Oblivious to it. Well, how much? He said, they want 15 grand.
Yeah.
Wow. She'd make 30 or 40 grand. Yeah. So I ring Anthony Thompson.
Yeah.
And I said, that filly put an offer of 10,000. 10, he says.
Yeah. Would they take 10?
Would they take 10? They should do. He comes back and he said, mate, they're shaking their head, but you can have it for 10.
Yeah.
What a filly.
Mind you, the family were doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
So that's why he's gone, just take it.
Yep, the full sister, I think. Denise had bought the full sister. Yeah. Or no, she had the Magic Albert. Björn had the full.
Björn had the full.
It did nothing. But we really liked her, and she was a freak.
Wasn't she? Unbelievable.
She mightn't be on anywhere near your wings, but to us, she was a freak. 2-time Group 1 winner.
Yeah.
Remember the first day she raced?
Oh, I remember all right. So I was there.
She was trained by David Van Dyke.
Yeah.
She was actually trained by Clary and had one trial under Clary. And we had a bit of a falling out and the horses moved out and she went to David Van Dyke. And I don't think, again, I'll give credit to Clary because I think if Clary hadn't trialled her, knowing Dave the way he trials, I don't think he would have produced her as a 2-year-old. It was just that she was up and going, had already trialled. He said, we'll trial her again. She trialled okay.
Yeah, it was only fair.
And Dave says, well, look, we're going to give her a first start. Don't expect much. Blah, blah, blah.
Wish we could go wider.
I didn't even go. You went as the racing manager at the time.
Yeah.
And you ring me in the mounting yard.
I was
horrified. What'd you say?
I was horrified. So I get to the mounting yard and all these monstrous colts. Harron had a colt. Godolphin's got a couple. They're just massive, gorgeous colts, big, strapping. And here comes Yankee with a woolly coat. She
wasn't a big filly.
Not a big filly. She would have been 15-1, 15-2. She raced at about 430 kilos. There was nothing of her. Long coat. She looks like crap. I remember thinking, well, this is embarrassing. This is and these are big price colts, like reeling them. All the big stables are reeling them out, and Yankees being the fillies tagging along at the end of and you're thinking this is embarrassing.
It can be daunting, isn't it, when you see these Goliaths?
I'm already there going, what am I going to say to the owners? We can only, because pre-Christmas you can only race in town. There's no options to go wide. You can't go to the country. You can't go to provincial. There's nothing for them. You've got to come to town. So it's like, what am I going to say to these owners?
But you know what? Dave Van Dyke was confident.
Yeah, well, apparently, yeah.
And we hadn't seen anything in the trials.
Even though she was 30 to 1 too.
David Van Dyke, if you don't know, he is an amazing trainer.
With Professor Colin, brethren.
He's just spot on the money. He's so good at what he does. And he actually was confident she would do something. And I actually tipped her to a couple of friends who saw we had one in. And you rang me and just dented me. It was like, oh, wow, right, okay.
Well, then I'll go up to the grandstand and I'm watching her and she jumps. She only jumps fair. She's off the bit. Collett's into her. I'm thinking, this is embarrassing. How far is this filly going to get beat? What am I going to say to these owners? Look, guys, don't worry. We can live to fight another day. She can go to the paddock. We'll come back in. And he's riding her the whole way. She's off the bit chasing. I'm thinking, this is... Anyway, you're coming into the straight and you're praying, come on, just
do something.
Just don't embarrass. Don't embarrass us. Don't. Yeah. Anyway, she starts making a bit of ground. You're thinking, wow, she's making... Go, Yankees. You're thinking she's making a bit of ground. This is good. She's finishing off. She's going to run a nice fifth.
She's going to run second at one point.
Then you're thinking, she's going to run a place. And then all of a sudden you go from that to go...
She's going to win.
She's going to win it. And then she wins and you put the hand in the air and go, what just happened? Yeah. What just... And then you run down to and there's high fives and you're thinking, what was that? What did I just watch? What was that?
And I thought she'd go to the paddock then again, and she must have done well. So Dave went again, and it was the Golden Gift.
It was.
Not the Golden Gift you see today that's worth $1 million.
No.
But it was the Golden Gift, and she did it exactly again. And the hallmark, what I remember about that was, at the end of those two races, although they were just Saturday races, the sectionals were off the chart.
Well, if anyone wants to do yourself a favour and go back to look a hell of a run, have a look at Yankee Rose's second start. And I still can't believe she won that race with the work she had to do.
Yeah.
Even Miles in the final furlong, when you show people, they go, what, does she win this?
I think the slow-mo, Glenn Schofield
thought he won it.
He's
on
home
the
and
horse.
he's got the smile on his face, and Yankee
she goes,
nails him.
And when Collett come back to scale, he was shaking. And he dropped his stick. He was a mess. And he's going, they just don't do that. They just,
And back then, that... you need to win a lot more money these days to win the Golden Slipper. Those two wins clearly got her into the Slipper. And the next part about this story, which was unbelievable at the time, is she did have some niggling injuries here and right through her career. And Dave had this plan. He was going to go first up the Slipper, which was unheard of.
Yeah.
Even I was starting to think,
it was like, nah.
Gee,
it's never been done.
What are we doing here?
Never been done.
Lo and behold, we end up with two in the Slipper that year.
Scarlet Rain,
who...
A Yankee.
There's some great stories about Scarlet Rain. You and Gay singing at the races.
We were too.
But we had two. I remember her doing the breakfast. And Yankee, although Scarlet Rain was the beast.
Yeah.
She was an absolute queen. We paid $100,000 for her. And I think everyone thought, trained by Gay, she's the one.
Very, very
fast. For me, I remember getting interviewed at the breakfast because neither of them were hugely fancy. And I said, I can't get away from Yankee. I said, Scarlet Rain's good. There's something special about this Yankee Rose. But first up in a Slipper, how can you be confident? You're with a trainer who hasn't had Slipper runners compared to, say, having Scarlet Rain with Gay. And she'd done all the lead-ups, the sweet embrace.
Yankees going straight into it first up.
We end up getting Zach Purton to ride.
Yeah.
And if you remember, this came out later, the more you tickled her up with the stick, the faster she went. And this is when all the whip rules started coming in. But over in Hong Kong, they still didn't have I still don't think they have whip rules over there. I'm not sure if that's changed. But so we get to the Slipper first up. Capitalist wins the Slipper and shoots away. And here's Yankee starting to come out of the pack.
Yeah.
Scarlet Rain's had a tough run and she's gone. So you're honing on Yankee Rose. This is, and he doesn't quite get him because he's unsure. I think he got done two races before for too many hits.
Yeah. He got fined.
But in the end, she goes down by whatever she goes. Not long. She's motoring to the line, and we go off like we've won it. Because, it's a slipper. It's my dream race. I
remember Radley saying the Yankee Rose owners are going off like they've won it.
we were celebrating hard. I'll never forget Zach said, I'm sorry, guys. I had my time again. The more I gave her, the quicker she came. Yeah. I should have got it stuck in early, but I'm still working out the whip.
And I'm absolutely coming back from
Hong Kong. Back for the size. Yeah. She'll win the size.
I'll be back and she'll win it.
And that was our very first Group 1. Yeah. You'll never forget it. You'll never forget it for the wrong reasons.
I know.
We've been doing it for years trying to win a Group 1.
Striving to get a Group 1.
And your missus happens to decide she's going to have a holiday, a family holiday.
The holiday booked on the day.
Good move.
I wasn't happy. I was at Batto Bay and watching it on the stupid little TV that they have up there. And she come round that bend and come into the straight, and he had double wraps on her, and I'm thinking, she going to win this. And then you go from she's going to win it to she's going to bolt in. And she bolt in. I don't mind telling you, the cushions and the lounge up there at Batto Bay copped the flogging because I was so mad thinking, this is our Group 1. We've won it. We're probably never going to win another one. I'm not even there. This is ridiculous. And then the phone just started ringing hot, and it was just... It was elation, but so disappointing not to be there.
I'll never forget that race as long as I live. It was crazy. Well, I think we filmed it for Facebook.
No, that was the Spring Champions because I was there that day.
I was too. Yeah. I mean, and then the highs and lows of racing. We were $1.20 to win the champagne.
We were too.
And the Friday,
she pulled the
2 days before, she pulled a shoe, was lame, scratched the morning of the race.
Yeah, the steward scratched
You go from here to here very quickly.
So...
Yankee Rose went on and won, as you said, the spring champion. First filly to ever win the spring champion. She ran third to Winks in the Cox Plate.
Yeah.
It was probably an 18-month period because she did have injuries where it was just that intense, that full-on, something we've never experienced. Owners at times on the better horses can get more intense. It's harder work.
Yeah.
We get to the end of her career. She sold to Japan for $2 million. Where, we've paid 10 grand. She won 2.5, sold for $2 million. We're just starting to come off the back of it. It's been a month. Yeah. We're kind of down thinking,
wow,
man, what a ride.
Yeah.
And who comes along? Having a first start a month later, She Will Reign nearly comes and breaks the track record at Kembla.
Yeah.
I remember being there with my son, and it was the most awesome feel to see her, the way she won. And I just remember thinking to myself, oh dear, here we go again.
We were sitting there too, because I remember it. She trialled at Rose Hill, and Gary wanted to give her a quiet one because she's that fast and that quick that he could never get it in behind anything. And he said, I want to use this trial to get it in behind horses because she's too brilliant. She can't. So, and you can't win too many races by just flat out leading as 2-year-old. So I want to get her in behind horses. And you went, okay, yeah, sweet. So she jumps in that trial at Rose Hill, burns straight to the front, wins by 10. And I'm going, what's he done? Like, these owners are going to think this is a superstar. Like,
yeah,
this is all against what...
And we'd have plenty of good trial winners.
We've had a lot of good trial winners
not to get too carried away.
The owners get very, very excited and carried away. And a lot of times trials, you just put a line through them because
Gary Portelli can pump a horse. He loves to pump a horse.
Loves to pump them up.
He sent me a photo early days of the stopwatch, and I can't remember. It was a ridiculous time.
If I've ever saddled up a group horse, this is it.
Yeah.
So we go to Kembla at a first start. Remember, we're sitting in the stands going, oh, I wonder if this is the real deal. We're going to find out.
Well, you're talking about, talking about punting stories like with Joan of Arc in the day. She was 50-1 for the slipper. The owners were already sold on her. We were just going, hey, hopefully we take the slipper, the trial form into her first race. I know, I was always worried. Always worried for a 2-year-old.
Always.
They had backed the bejeebies out of her for the slipper, thinking they've got the real deal, and there was no stopping them once she won that race at Kembla.
No, she Deanne Pena rode her that day, and I don't think I've ever seen a horse get out of the gates as quick as she did. And then the way she won that, remember? It was just like, you couldn't believe what you were watching. You were like, wow, she's doing it on race day. It's not a trial, this is race day.
We came off the back of Yankee Rose, who just had the biggest heart you'd ever see. And we just loved her. She was a freak to one of the fastest fillies we'd ever seen in the space of 2 years. I mean, great story with her as well. Not a fashionable stallion. We paid $20,000 for her. Manhattan Rain was off the boil. But the mother Courgette, you broke in. And I think James from Inglis, Jimmy, had bought her for owners and they were selling her on. She was with Gerald. She'd won a city race, Courgette. And we bought her as a tried horse. Had all sorts of problems. Couldn't get her to win. Was with Terry Robinson. And a good client of mine was in it. Ours, Gary Bashel. And I'm going to get rid of Courgette. And he said, I might breed with her. I'm thinking, why do you want to breed with her? There's not... He breeds with her. Then he does a deal with Manhattan Rain, a foal share. And he told me, and I said, mate, like, foal share, that means you got to pay all the upkeep. You might get the service. And Manhattan Rain's off the ball yet. He went ahead and did it. And then it came to the sale, and we quite liked her. Athlete.
Yeah, nice.
Offset in one knee and had that turn. And I'm like, yeah, we don't mind her, but what's the reserve? He said 20,000 is the reserve. I said, well, we're going to 20 grand, no more. We landed right on the 20.
Right on 20.
Made 22 and a half or 21. We probably wouldn't have bought her. Liked her. But, you know, she wasn't bred to be anything special.
Anything spectacular,
you know, Gary, to his credit, once again, not only did he buy Courgette, then put it to Manhattan Rain, then he's so disappointed he's only making 20,000. He buys 10% back in.
He did too.
Lucky man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, She Will Reign. She was just an out and out speed horse. What's your thoughts of the slipper?
Well,
what's your memories?
The memories of the slipper is probably the stretch limo ride there.
Yeah, that was good. Well, we were experienced by then.
That was
the year before we'd had Yankee Rose. Was only the year before.
Yeah.
Well, 2016.
That's right.
We thought we'd won. We ran second.
Yeah.
Suddenly we turn up with She Will Reign, and she's favourite right through until the last lead up. Remember the heavy? That's right. It was up a heavy 10 at Randwick. And the last lead up.
Frolic beat us.
Bloody Frolic.
We're saying bloody Frolic because Dave Rawson's doing all this video footage.
Very good filly.
He was the racing.
Very good filly.
Michael Friedman's.
But yeah, you went from...
She was actually a good finish.
Unbeatable, won the Silver Slipper, won the English Nursery. Yeah. You got your last lead up. You're thinking, this is just wild. Like we've come off Yankee Rose second. We've now got the favourite. We get beat in that, and suddenly we're 8 to 10 to 1.
And I know my thoughts leading into the slipper. I was devastated because it didn't stop raining.
That's right.
It did not stop raining.
And we got beat on a very wet track. We got beat on the wet,
and I was so down and devastated coming into the Golden Slipper on a heavy 20 track, thinking this is so disappointing. And I remember you weren't and I'm going, but we've got the fastest 2-year-old that's absolutely scorching. Nothing can get near her, and she's not going to get to show that. It's a slog fest. Anything could get up.
Because when you get those real heavy tracks, unless you've got an absolute mudlark, I always believe anything can happen and win.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So we had this electric turn of foot horse that wasn't going to
be able to use.
Yeah, no, I was with you.
I was devastated. It was like this was our chance to win the slipper.
But coming to mind of me, I was thinking about this the other day, and we're both Christians. We don't ram it down people. But I remember, I was talking to the Lord about it in prayer time and hoping for success and praying for success, as you do. Yeah. I remember being on the treadmill, and it felt like all hope was lost because of the way the rain was coming down. Yeah. And I had a clear vision. Remember this? Remember telling?
I do remember that.
I remember telling Gary and Ben Mellon rode it, and they were just like, this bloke's on something. I had a clear vision that she wins the slipper the Red Sea putt, she goes up the inside and wins the slipper by a fair margin.
Yeah.
It took a bit of faith, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it was a clear vision.
Yeah.
And we're talking tactics, and we'd drawn wide. And I get on a 3. I think, I'm going to have to share this vision. I don't know why I've got to share the vision with them. It was so vivid.
Yeah.
And I get Ben Mellum on one line, I get Gary on another.
Yeah.
I said, thanks coming on. I just want to talk about tactics for the slipper. I'm thinking, took a deep breath, said, might seem a bit out there. You know, I'm a pretty down-to-earth sort of bloke, but I've had a vision. I shared the vision and there was dead set silence.
All right. Wow.
Dead set silence. Oh, gosh, they don't think I'm a nutter. They don't think I'm an absolute freak. And Gary goes, yeah, well, anyway, we'll have a look at the pattern on the day. And I thought,
They've just dismissed it.
Anyway, fast forward to the slipper. I didn't know this till afterwards. Gary does his huddle tactics, but then he walks over to Benny and he says, right, mate, no point going forward here. Yeah, just, you know, got to go forward.
No point going back. Yeah.
No point going back.
Because she drew a bit wide.
Yep. No point going back. Got to go forward. And we were oblivious to all of this. And Benny goes, no, I'm going to go back and ride for luck. And he goes, I've seen a lot of slippers, watching a lot of slippers, and they've won up the fence.
Yep.
And Gary goes, oh, no, I think you're mad. Anyway, he says, anyway, you do what you got to do. And if you watch the overhead vision, it is incredible.
Yeah.
He comes back sort of to third last, sits in front of Frolic.
Yeah.
And then the Red Sea parts. Like, this is not in the straight. This is in the race. And he just keeps getting these runs right up the fence.
Yeah.
He goes from third last during the race right up to where he's sitting on the lead. Horses just kept moving off the fence. And he kept right up. And just as I saw the vision is how she won.
Wow.
It just massive gap. She just shoots through and wins the slipper. And I think Jamie Payne at the time was doing some stuff for us. He did put that video together. Yeah. My eyeballs are out of my head because I'm remembering this vision and how I've just seen it, and I'm yelling at the camera, and it's an incredible day.
Well, we're all on the fence, trying to get as close as we could, and when she did hit the front, you have that quick scan back, and you're just she's won it.
If you remember,
and it's 300 metres to go. And we're all high-fiving and jumping around. The owners were cuddling. And then I remember at some point going, there was 300 to go. So I have a quick turnaround. And she's going, whoosh. And you go, nah, she's won it. She's won it. And then those emotions come over you like, we've actually won the slipper. Like,
owners went crazy. The punting stories are amazing. I think one owner won 200,000.
Oh, yeah. Some of them were white.
These are small-time owners, first-time owners. Again, a very, very cheap syndication.
So we're getting on at 50s. I remember the Golden Slipper Breakfast when they do all the thing and then they get Munsey on and say, here's your tip and what's this and what's that. And he said, well, I'm here to tell you, if She Will Reign wins the slipper, it will be a bloodbath for the TAB, because she's the people's favourite, the people's champion, and they are all on her. Everyone is on She Will Reign. He said it will be a bloodbath for the tab.
If Yankee Rose was the freak and the darling, the one that hits my heart, She Will Reign was just the best. Like, she was just fast.
She was the flat out best.
It's funny, I was in love with the slipper, as we said.
Yeah.
Worked for Clary Connors, 4-time slipper winner.
Yeah.
Everything was slipper. I dreamed of slipper. I ate slipper.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you project that and you're so determined, it's no wonder that we've had 8 golden slipper runners. We've won it.
Yeah.
Run second, run fifth with Time to Reign.
Yeah.
I think it just comes off that way. You really determined. I think going back to She Will Reign, she secured the first ever slot in the Everest off that. She was the first one ever gone. Yulong grabbed her. It was just a whirlwind. Those 3 years of Yankee Rose and She Will Reign. She come back in the Moir, probably her best win.
That was the best win ever.
Whole time. Whether she'd come back, she was miles off them.
Yeah.
But never came back the same kind of after that run.
As they do. Well, even her to come back and win the Group 1 Moir, she's in elite territory that not many of them do it at all. So for her to do that, and the way she did it, remember it was basically saying to Kieran, just jump and be on pace, and she just missed the start.
Filly, there was 20,000, I think, syndicated at 50 with all the breaking in insurance and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. She won 3.2 million.
Yeah.
Again, Japan
sold
scooped
for over 2 million.
I think 2.3 million.
Yeah.
And both of them weren't long rides, but rides you'll just never forget.
Yeah, shooting stars.
And it was just an era in those years to come of so many good race fillies and mares.
Yeah.
The Graceful Glamour.
Yeah.
We said the Scarlet Rain.
Every Rose.
Yeah. Jim Crack winner.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about Graceful Glamour, the grey. Like she captured everybody just with her colour, let alone what she did on the track. $90,000 Easter purchase.
Well, I remember being at Flemington on Oaks Day when Mark Newnham had a primed. And he said, I think she can win it. And you're like, wow. And I remember being down there with Paula Newnham. And again, it was one of those days or feelings when she ran second, beating a neck or whatever it was. You were so wrapped that you've run a Group 1 placing and it's great for her and it's brilliant for a pedigree, and you're thinking all that stuff goes through your mind. It's amazing how much what can go through your mind so quickly. You're thinking all that, but then the disappointment come in. Again, you and I are just so competitive to a fault sometimes. The first thing I thought of was how disappointing we could have won the Slipper one year and the next year won the Oaks. And that shows our versatility of what we can select. And from a business point of view, you're going, that would just be... We're not only good with the 2-year-olds, we can get you an Oaks winner as well. So come with us. Like, look what we can do. So when she fell agonisingly short, you were so disappointed, but you were also, that quickly goes away and you go, wow, she's run second in a Group 1.
She certainly had a following, and that was due to her colour. She was a real whitey grey colour.
Well, I think that was it. Was that when Jennifer Hawkins? Yeah, it was. Yeah. Jennifer Hawkins was there with her having the photo shoot, and that was...
She was a great money spinner. She wasn't a Group 1 winner. She Group 1 place. She Group 2 winner. But this is now starting to head into that era where the bloodstock for these off-the-track fillies were going through the roof. I mean, had we sold She'll Reign and Yankee Rose in today's market, oh, goodness sakes, they'd make a fortune. But, you know, Graceful Glamour heads to the Magic Millions after a great career. And at this stage, the country's in love. Everyone knew who she was. And she makes $1.5 million for a Group 2 winner. Insane.
And they said there was probably 800 for a mil you'd probably get.
It was just an insane period of selling. You know, we'd sold 2 million Yankee Rose, 2.3 She'll Reign. Suddenly you had Scarlet Rain made 900 or 850,000.
Yeah.
You know, Graceful Glamour,
Scarlet Rain 1.5. Yeah.
We had Every Rose, Jim Crack winner, another high-class filly, real queen to look at.
Yeah.
1.3 million.
Yeah.
There was other stories there, you know, $500,000 here, and just a phenomenal time to be in racing with the prize money and the way the sales have gone. How do you sum up from the early days to now where we've come from? What's your thoughts on the hard days compared to where we're at now? I mean, a lot of hard work's gone in.
Yeah, I think the early days were great and fun, and you were learning a lot of kicks in the guts. But it's the platform that we set to educate ourselves. Like I said, we just did it on our own. We didn't have any, and we still do to a point. Like, you know, we just did it on our own. We learnt the hard way in some things, and then we just backed ourselves. And to do that and get where we've got, like I've said to you a few times, we actually, you do get to the point sometimes where you're actually, because you're striving so hard to be the best you can be and get as much success as you had, you can sometimes dismiss the success that you have.
Yeah.
You forget about it pretty quick because you're looking, what's the next one?
Well, mate,
what's the next one?
we
won the Slipper. Yeah, right. What's next?
We haven't even touched on a
next?
horse. You talk about all these wonderful horses we have, but what about a horse like Sarmadale even? There's a rags to riches story, a horse that, how many times you see a horse, they get to that sort of benchmark 72, 78, and they just hit the ceiling.
He peaked, he plateaued.
And this is Sarmadale, not a single doubt horse we paid $40,000 for.
Yeah.
He a gelding trained by Björn Baker.
He was out of a family too, Isadora, that wasn't doing
He's a decent enough
lot.
horse, but he was destined to be just that,
solid
midweek 78.
Yeah.
And remember that one prep, he just came back, which was, he had 2 preps left in him before he went amiss. But that second last prep, we took him from a Saturday win. Björn took him right to winning a Canberra Cup. And we just thought that was insane.
That's
For where
incredible.
he'd come from,
was
that's
his
the
peak.
greatest.
Yeah.
I think we won the Cup the year before with Dark Eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we thought that's just unreal. But then Björn pulls off one of the biggest coups ever.
Incredible.
I think there's still talk about it. This benchmark horse hit the Canberra Cup. I remember he rang me and he said, listen, I reckon the Group 1 Wing Stakes, we can catch the horses
All the stars coming back.
on the hop.
Yeah.
All the stars are coming back. We'll have him primed up. I thought he was mad. He was 50-1
Yeah.
and he wins.
And he said he was
Group 1.
flying. He said he's low-level flying.
He's flying. I
was
thought he was
summoned
mad.
out.
And that's we love Björn. He's such a character. He's so competitive,
Yeah.
sometimes unconventional, like he will trial them on the Tuesday and he come up with these plans. But that's some of his biggest wins have been like Sarmadale, where he throws him in the deep end and get the win. And I think he went on and won a Group 2 and placed in another Group 1 and he ended up going amiss, which was sad for the owners. But it's like from the Yankee Rose to today, things accelerated that much. It's hard to describe the amount of good horses we've been involved with.
It's kind of like Time for War on.
Yeah.
Time for War
true.
hit, and then it was Scarlet, and then Yankee, and She Will Reign, and it just graceful, and it just kind of kept running and snowballing. And I think that's where now we've branched into the internationals, obviously.
Well, I was just going to touch on that, mate. Like, we made an absolute name for Golden Slipper.
Yeah, 2-year-olds.
And we're still striving to win another Slipper. I love the Slipper, as you said. And but the emergence of the European horse, the imports, we decided probably 4 years ago to get involved. You're just seeing the field start to fill up.
Yeah.
We've got a great agent over there, Hubie de Berg, and hasn't it been amazing?
Yeah.
The some of the horses coming out of Europe, Harpo Marks, Group 1 place, Spirit Ridge, multiple stakes winner.
Well, the story with the Europeans too, the imports, were we tried to get in there years ago, but we didn't have the database to support the quality of horse you needed, because we were giving Hubie a shoestring budget of find us a
$2.50.
An outstanding staying prospect to come to us.
Because we were worried.
We'll give you about 20
We were
grand.
worried that we'd have them, and you didn't have the credit terms as you do with the sales companies, and we thought we wouldn't sell them, so we had to start very small.
Yeah.
But to Hubie's credit, he's done an amazing job. He's a great guy. He's a funny man.
He's brilliant.
His experience is second to none.
Yeah.
But
our success broadened the database and allowed us to delve into that better quality of import while still keeping them cheap. Like, we're nowhere near what some people will spend, but it allowed us that little bit more to go, let's look at horses at this price.
Well, we still shop at the bottom at the Yankee Rose, but we also shop at sort of that 300 to 400 mark as well, trying to find the next stallion, to find the next good horse.
But that worked so great with, Hubie will pick X amount of horses, sends them through to us. We sift through them all, find the ones that we like the best. They go onto the list, and then we've just been blessed with the success.
Where we
that's come
started
from
this whole
Hubie.
conversation, mate, on the weekend, Goulburn from New Zealand, another import.
Yeah.
Melbourne Cup runner now. King Frankel, third on the weekend.
The Group
Group
1.
1 Tancred, heading to the Sydney Cup, second favourite.
Yeah.
We've gone from the Golden Slipper syndicators to these, middle distance horses, and I suppose it shows you the evolution of even where Darby Racing's at.
Well, Brent Stanley said in the commentary too, on the weekend, he gave us a big push. Like, you probably didn't see it, it was on racing.com, and he said, well, Darby Racing, like they're massive in New South Wales. They're one of the premier syndicators. They've had Group 1 success everywhere. They've won Golden Slipper. Now they're heading to the Melbourne Cup. This is a whole new era level kind of thing. And it was kind of like, yeah, you're right. You're right. We can produce them real sprint horses, but now we're getting the stayers as well. And it was just the feeling when he won that race, Goldman, like that's, like we said at the start, it was, it's one of those ones where you kind of, like when you get Yankee, She Will Reign, the others, into the slipper. Just getting them into it and qualified and know that you're going to the big dance and you're months and months away from it. So you got all that time to enjoy it and celebrate it and go, wow, we're going to the Melbourne Cup. We are going to the Melbourne Cup. Because that's the original reason why we're looking for all these imports.
It sounds good, doesn't it, to have a slipper trophy? It would be nice to have a Melbourne Cup trophy.
I know, right? Well, we're one step closer. That's Goldman's trophy.
Yeah.
The Bob Hoisted.
Anyway, look, what a ride. I'm ready for the next chapter. We're as hungry as ever. 15 years it's been in the making, and hopefully there's another 15, 20, 30
well,
years
we've always
to come.
said it. I mean, how long have we been best mates for? Like, I met you when you were, what, 18? I was 24. I'm 56 now. I'm 56 this year.
Yeah.
So it's a long time.
You don't look it.
Yeah. Actually, Hannah said to me the other day, my 7-year-old daughter, she said, I wonder what you'd look like with brown hair, Dad. I said, I look a hell of a lot younger than I do now. I was dyeing it for a little bit, but I got sick of that. You get sick of it. A man is always into me. Can I dye your hair? No.
Well, I had one good trait passed on to me. My dad didn't go grey.
Yeah, I know. Your
ages.
dad's
There's
still not grey.
No colour in my hair, but there's plenty of greys.
And he's in his 80s, isn't he?
Anyway.
You're laughing. Grey hair sucks.
Yeah.
Grey hair sucks.
Anyway, great ride, and long may continue.
We always think it's only just a start. We're going to keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep finding them. Because that feeling again, when he won that race and he's into the Melbourne Cup, that feeling, you cannot beat it. That's what we're all in this game for. Knowing that you're going to the Melbourne Cup, knowing that you're going to the Golden Slipper. No, it's just, that's what we're all doing it for. That's what we're all here for. And to do it with your best mate, it's outstanding.
Got a great team, I must say.
Yeah.
It's not just Mark and I, Lauren, Amy, Steve, Carolyn, Lauren Elvin's up in Queensland. We've got a brilliant team that work. They're
only as good as your team.
They are so good.
Yeah.
I mean that.
Yeah.
Makes my job a hell of a lot easier, and I think there's much more. I think we're only just scratching the surface, to be honest.
Amen to that.